Hair turning gray is often treated as a sudden sign of aging, something that happens almost overnight. But gray hair is not caused by time alone, and it is not a simple loss of color. It is the result of a gradual biological process happening deep inside each hair follicle. To understand why hair turns gray, you have to understand where hair color comes from in the first place. Hair color is produced by pigment cells called melanocytes. These cells live in the hair follicle and produce melanin, the same pigment responsible for skin and eye color. There are two main types of melanin involved in hair color: eumelanin, which produces brown and black shades, and pheomelanin, which produces red and yellow tones. The combination and amount of these pigments determine your natural hair color. Every time a hair grows, melanocytes inject melanin into the developing hair shaft. As long as this process continues, hair retains its color. Gray hair appears when this process slows down or stops. The most important factor behind this change is stem cell exhaustion. Melanocytes rely on a reserve of pigment-producing stem cells located in the hair follicle. These stem cells regenerate melanocytes over time. As we age, these stem cells become damaged, depleted, or less responsive. Once they are gone, the follicle can no longer produce melanin consistently. The hair still grows, but without pigment. What grows out looks gray, silver, or white, depending on how much pigment remains. Genetics play the largest role in determining when this process begins. Some people start graying in their 20s. Others retain their color well into later life. This timing is largely inherited. Stress is often blamed for gray hair, and while stress does not instantly turn hair gray, it can accelerate the process. Chronic stress increases oxidative stress in the body, producing molecules that damage cells, including melanocyte stem cells. Over time, this damage can push follicles toward pigment loss sooner than they otherwise would. This is why stress is considered a contributing factor, not a sole cause. Another factor is oxidative damage from normal metabolism. Every cell produces reactive oxygen species as a byproduct of energy production. The body has systems to neutralize these molecules, but those systems weaken with age. When oxidative damage accumulates in hair follicles, melanocytes become less effective or die off. This contributes to pigment loss even in the absence of visible stress. Importantly, gray hair is not actually gray. Individual hairs are either pigmented or not. White hairs contain no melanin at all. Gray hair is an optical effect created when pigmented and non-pigmented hairs mix together. The contrast between darker hairs and white hairs makes the overall appearance look gray. This is why hair often appears salt and pepper before becoming fully white. Nutrition can influence hair health, but it rarely reverses graying once it has begun. Severe deficiencies in certain vitamins, such as B12, can cause premature graying, but correcting the deficiency does not usually restore pigment in already gray hairs. Once a follicle stops producing melanin, it rarely restarts. This is because the stem cell reservoir has already been lost or damaged. Hair dye works by adding color externally, not by restarting pigment production. From an evolutionary perspective, gray hair is not harmful. It does not reduce survival or reproductive ability in a way that would be selected against. Humans evolved long lifespans where visible aging occurs after reproduction, so there was no evolutionary pressure to prevent hair from losing color later in life. In fact, in many societies, gray hair became associated with experience, authority, and age-based social roles. The biology did not change because the signal was not disadvantageous. So why does hair turn gray as we get older? Because pigment production depends on fragile cellular systems that wear down over time. Stem cells deplete. Oxidative damage accumulates. Genetics sets the clock. Stress can speed it up. Hair does not fade. It grows without color. Once you understand that, gray hair stops being a mystery or a failure of the body. It is simply the visible result of cells reaching the end of their regenerative capacity. If you enjoyed this explanation, the next story explores another everyday change people blame on aging that actually begins much earlier than they think. Click on the channel to discover more untold stories behind simple things.